Warning: MF Uncensored contains adult language and discussion. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to the Multiverse Fancast and MF Uncensored. Now, we are super excited today. We have a very special guest. If you've watched a little show called Friends, saw a small movie named Billy Madison, or basically turn on your TV for the last couple of years, you may recognize today's guest. Before we introduce him, I'm Paul, and with me is Sean. Sean, how are you today?
As always, very, very good.
And we are super excited to announce that on the show today, Mr. Larry Hankin, also known as Marty, if you're on our
Marty
Zoom.
the Shark. I got to tell you where the name came from.
Yes, please.
It's just no. I played a character. There was a tribute to Carl Gottlieb, who's a friend of mine who wrote Jaws, and they had a shark, just a picture of a shark, not a moving picture, just a photo of a shark. And I was the shark's voice, and the shark's name was Marty. So I was Marty the Shark on the Carl Gottlieb Jaws tribute.
That's awesome.
And somebody on the other end who was running the show, like what you guys are doing, typed in Marty, for the shark, when the shark picture came on. He typed it on. But he never took it off. And I don't know what he did at his end to get the Marty thing off. It comes off every time I go on Zoom, man, Marty. It's, I guess, to Zoom, I am Marty the Shark.
So you guys heard it first here on our podcast that Larry Hankin, also known as Marty. Marty the Shark.
Breaking news.
Marty the Shark. Okay. So that's that. Got that out of the way.
Out of the way for anybody who's confused.
Yeah.
They didn't get Larry Hankin. They got some guy named Marty.
Yeah. A shark. What is he, crazy?
So one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about first and foremost is you have a very distinct look to you. Like in a lot of different shows and movies, you have this very like Larry Hankin look to you. Now, one of the most famous is obviously Mr. Heckles from Friends. Right. My wife is a huge fan of Friends. I have to ask about it because otherwise she may divorce me.
Tell her that I'm a big fan of hers.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to isolate that audio, and I'm gonna have to tell her that. So she may even pop down at some point because she's doing some other stuff with. She's very big on Instagram. That's her thing.
Oh, okay. I'm just discovering Instagram. I don't know anything about it, but I got to get on it.
I'm going to tell her that she should reach out to you about Instagram, and she can help you get started. She'd love that.
Cool. That would please Facebook. Contact me on Facebook.
Oh, absolutely. So for the look of Mr. Heckles, it's very Larry Hankin. How much input did you have on the creation of a character like Mr. Heckles? When you create your characters, is it something that you create? Is it something that you take direction on? How did Mr. Heckles especially come into play?
That's a great question because I've always thought about it from my end about the creation of Mr. Heckles, but nobody's ever asked me about it. So here's the truth about it. I have had absolutely no input on Mr. Heckles, nor has anybody else. And I'm talking about costumes, hair, makeup, whatever. Nobody ever gave a hoot about what Mr. Heckles. And when I went on camera, and then I did the show, I rehearsed for a week, put on the costume they gave me, did the show, went and watched it 2 weeks later when it came on, and I saw what Mr. Heckles looked like. It blew me away because the hair, I had long hair at the time. My hair was down to my shoulder. Nobody ever combed it or said anything about it, and I didn't look in a mirror. So the hair of Mr. Heckles was always not on my mind. I would just be, you're on camera now, go downstairs, Larry. I would just rush and go on and do my part. And whenever I watched my show, I'd go, oh my God, I didn't comb my hair. So that's what Mr. Heckles was. It was, get on stage now. Don't forget it. Just get on. And it would always surprise me when I watched the show as to what Mr. Heckles looked like. No input whatsoever. Never even looked at my hair. I would go. There was one time where my hair was just up like this. I didn't do that. That was just because I was running. And So thank you for clearing that up for me and the fans.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Especially because, there are a lot of celebrities who don't like seeing what they look like on screen, or they don't like watching their own work. So it's fun to imagine you not only seeing your own work, but also being surprised.
Yeah, I would just blew and I go, nobody told me, and because the thing was sticking up, and it was all that. And so I got like kind of, discombobulated, unnerved, kind of, PO'd. Nobody told me. And then when people start to, write me or, fans, hey, I love your work, Mr. Heckles. I thought, no, everybody accepts that as Mr. Heckles. So, Larry, shut up and just go along with it. It's Mr. Heckles. Now, other characters, yes, I did take a lot of care. Old Joe, on Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was the hair was because, and this is the other thing I never talked about this. I never thought about it consciously, but always the hair of my characters always was a big deal. Like some characters, some actors care about, the look, what jacket they're wearing or what costume they're wearing. Some care about the shoes, because even though you don't see it, you're in them and it makes you either comfortable or not comfortable. So a lot of actors get really weird about the shoes that they are supposed to wear, just because it affects how they feel, about themselves. So the hair is always, and that's why I got so PO'd about when I watched the show and go, oh my God, nobody told me. Because the hair of my characters is really what I fuss about for some strange reason. And sometimes the hair people will not let me do what I want to do. So, they go, no, it's going to look like this. And okay, fine. I don't want to start a fist fight in the hairdressing room. It's crazy.
Which of your characters would you say has the best hair?
Well, right off the bat, I'd say Old Joe. What characters are you talking about? I did so many. There's only a couple of famous ones. I mean, like there's Tom Pepper in Friends, in Seinfeld. So the hair had to be like Kramer. So that was up to the department. I mean, I had nothing to do with that. And I didn't want to have anything. I wanted to look like Kramer. So I let that. So that was taken care of. Friends, I guess, is the most distinct, but I had nobody had anything to do with it. But Old Joe, no, I worked on that, letting my hair grow, putting grease in it. And then they put even more grease in it when I got there. And then the costume, I had a say. I generally have a say about costumes. And that's a point about actors that maybe nobody knows. I discovered this. I'm writing a book about my adventures in Hollywood. And one of the chapters is about the clothing. And so I thought about it. There is a point at which, as an actor, when you go in, that you have a chance. There's a slight window, very thin window, of when you can make a decision about the clothes you're going to wear. And a lot of times I missed that window or didn't know about it. So you just go in and put on the costume that you're given. And once you're given the costume, that's it, man. Game over. I've tried to make changes once the costume was given to me. And that's a big argument that I always lost. But there's a window. When you come to the set, generally when I come to the set, where you go is the first AD. He's the one who takes you to your dressing room. He gives you your instructions, where you should go, what time you're going to be shot. So you go to him and say, okay. And my first question is my costume in my dressing room? And if they say yes, game over.
Yeah.
You go in, you put it on. But if it's not in your dressing room, then I go, the second question is, where's the costume department? And so I head to the costume department and I say, where are my character's rack?
Mm-hmm.
And what that is all the different choices the costumer has and the director has about what you're going to wear. And I can get in there and say, well, your rack is over there. And then you can go over and you can call the costumer and go through it, which is what I do all the time. Call a costumer over and say, hey, I like this one and that. Can I wear this one and that? So at least they give you a choice, before you go. And then they'll go, yeah, well, and then they'll let you put it on and then they look at it. Yeah, God, show that to the director. And then the director will generally say, yeah. or, maybe change the hat, but that's it. But so you had your choice. But once it's in your dressing room,
it's done. You can't.
So.
Yep.
And sometimes I've stood on set in the beginning when you don't have any choice at all, man. You just cattle. Where I've been standing on a set and they're just about to make the shot, and I look at myself, or I feel, and I go, "What am I? I'm a grown man and I'm standing here in this. Why am I here?" But you've got the job and you got your lines and you just go on and do it. But I thought, what am I doing in this costume? It's the stupidest thing I've ever worn. Why am I doing this?
So then we got to ask, what do you think is the dumbest costume or the silliest costume that you've ever had to wear for any production?
Okay, and I had that in mind. Now I don't know the show because it was like the first or second or third role I ever had.
Okay.
But I'm thin, but I'm not I'm not a starker. I don't care about my body that much, but I'm thin. They put me in a costume. They say, "Here's the costume, put it on." It was in my dressing room and I put it on. And what they gave me was a see-through t-shirt.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it wasn't see-through, it was large knit holes. So, each hole was about that big, it was like knit. It was like fishnet. It was like fishnet.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like fishnet stockings.
Oh,
It was a fishnet t-shirt with no undershirt, just my bare skin and this fishnet t-shirt. And I can't, no. It's the only time in my life I've ever refused to wear it.
So just so you know, my producer and my wife, Melanie, put on the headphones to listen in on our interview just now. And the first thing she heard were fishnet t-shirts and bear skin from Larry Hankin. And she's trying not to laugh too loud on the microphone.
No, it deserves laughter. What's her name?
Her name is Melanie.
Melanie, it's funny, but I wouldn't wear it. You'll never see it. It doesn't exist. I refuse to wear it. I brought it, I took it off, put on my own clothes, and went to the director and said, "I'm not wearing this. You can fire me." And he said, "Okay, give him something else. Just leave him alone. He's crazy." So I didn't. But thanks for the laugh, Melanie. Okay.
She's losing her mind right now. I want to turn the camera and catch her, but she will not let me. But
I won't let you. This is my show.
I don't know, but I got to live with her afterwards.
No, sir, Melanie. Nuh-uh. Okay.
But so for my wife, she was a big, like I said, big fan of Friends. My first time seeing you was actually Billy Madison, and you play the role of Carl, who. That the hair. See, there's the hair. No, I didn't want to. My hair was down on my shoulders, like the longest hair you ever saw on Mr. Heckles. Miss white hair down her shoulders, and I wouldn't cut it. And my best friend was directing it at the time, and so I said, "Hey, put me in the movie." So he said, "Oh, there's a great part, Carl. You could do Carl." I said, "Great, okay. I just want to meet Adam Sandler, and you're my best friend, so you get me in the movie." So he said, "Okay, but you have to cut your hair." "No, man, I'm not going to cut my hair. No." He said, "Well, you're not in the movie." I said, "But you're my best friend." That was the argument I had. "You're my best friend. What do you mean I'm not in the movie?" He said, "You have to cut the hair." "No, I'm not cutting my hair and you're my best friend." He said, "I'm your best friend and I'm the director. You're not in the movie if you don't cut my hair. Now get out of here." Because I was arguing with him, and he said, "Get out." So I left, and then I came back and said, "Okay, I'll cut my hair." So I did, but I really fought. So that Carl's haircut was just vicious because, when you have long hair, to cut it that short. Oh, yeah.
I kept on saying, that guy, that hairdresser guy, he's an executive, he's a CEO, and he has a ponytail. A lot of CEOs had ponytails at that time, 70s and 80s, late 70s. I said, "So I can be a businessman in a ponytail." "No, cut it." See, my friend is, a control freak, which most directors are. So I knew it was a losing battle. I just wanted to see how far I could push my friend.
And that's one of the best things about best friends.
Okay, here's the best thing about Best Friends.
All right.
He was fired and I wasn't.
Oh, you're gonna have to explain that one to us because
No, I can't. I
you
can't.
can't. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, he's a great director, and I won't tell you his name. He's a great director, and he directed 2 weeks of the movie before he was fired. It had nothing to do with me, but he was directing it too slow. That was the reason he was going to do, and he was, because he cared, and it was Adam Sandler's first movie, and it was on a very small budget for that kind of movie.
Yeah.
And so they kept on saying, no, you got to just set up, shoot. And no, my friend, I was watching the rushes. I mean, he was my friend, so I was going and watching the dailies, and they were great. I really liked it, and he was shooting me and the rest of the cast. So I didn't understand it, but it was a budget thing, So that was the reason. But I mean, the vengeance was mine. I claimed the vengeance. Ha! Cut my hair, huh? Next time you'll watch it when you tell me what to do.
So it's interesting to hear a little bit of the production about Billy Madison. Any other stories that kind of jump out at you?
All of them. In other words, my book is not about the movie. It's about the bullshit that goes on set, where the camera and the acting goes on set. I mean, I may even call it that, but that's not really a good name.
Bullshit on set. I love it.
The bullshit on set. But that's what it's about. It's about all that kind of stuff where you're the small stuff by the side while they're shooting, the argument that's going over there. I would go over there. Or when I was on Escape from Alcatraz, because it was such a huge budget movie, there was 10 boats that would take 200 cast members, the inmates, the actors who were playing the inmates on Alcatraz for Escape from Alcatraz, the Clint Eastwood movie. So they had 10 boats line up every morning at 7:30 or 7, maybe even 6:30. Along the shore, 10 tourist boats. They rented, tourist boats for 2 hours on each end of the day. In other words, they had 10 tourist boats for 2 hours from, like, say, 6:30 to 8:30. And then from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. to get from the island back to shore. So, and then for the rest of the day, they were tourist boats, taking tourists to see Alcatraz, not to see, all these famous convicts, but to see Clint Eastwood. And the Smokies, the guides with the smoky hats, who were very official guides to escaping Alcatraz. They were so angry that, because they really cared about Alcatraz. And name a famous gangster that was on it. I can't even think of their name.
Al Capone.
Al Capone. Okay, Al Capone. There you go. Al Capone. They were so PO'd that nobody wanted to see Al Capone's cell. They wanted to say, where's Clint Eastwood's cell? They got so angry. So finally, what they did was, and we had a pass. Alcatraz now is a national monument.
I've been there.
So you have to, if you're going to make a movie there, you have to go to the government to get, certificate, pass, a contract. So they went to the government. The Smokies went to the government and tried to get us kicked off the island. Warner Brothers and Clint Eastwood off the island. And so we ignored them. Or with Warner Brothers and the directors ignored them. We just went on with our thing. And what one of the small agreements was that was kind of, nobody, it was like a loophole, but nobody paid any attention until this fight started between the Smokies and Warner Brothers, between Smokies and Hollywood. There was a thing that says, if we're shooting anywhere where a tour would generally go through, that we had to stop filming to let the tour go by. That was all it was. But what they started to niggle about was, no, you have to stop filming, even if it was in the middle of a scene, and you had to go away, back off, let the tour pass. If they wanted to stand and talk about this cell, they could do that. and they had to move on, and then we could continue. So what they would do, the Smokies, is they would shift their guide tours to where we were filming. And they would just wait until we were in the middle of a scene, and they'd say, right this way, here's Al Capone's cell right here. Sorry, da 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 da. And then they would do that all day long until finally we broke. I mean, Warner Brothers caved. So for the next week, the entire schedule was changed so that we were moved to an area where there was the least amount of tours that were already scheduled. So, they couldn't change it. So they would put the movie where there wasn't any tours. So that was a big thing, man. That was like where we were almost kicked off of, and that was a big budget movie. So that was one of the things off camera. See, those are the kind of things I write about.
And your autobiography, you're currently writing that now?
Well, it's an autobiography of just me on the set, or how I got to the set, like the audition, or where I came from to even get invited, to be in the movie. Because I was in Second City, and I was in the committee, improv groups, and I was a stand-up comedian before that. So there's a lot of different ways that people say, hey, why don't you get Hankin for this role? But I'm not an actor. I'm a stand-up social anthropologist is what I am.
So what was it like making the transition from doing stand-up to more scripted material?
Oh, very hard. It was murder. And I also have dyslexia. So learning lines takes a little longer for me than most people. There's a lot of actors who are dyslexic in Hollywood, and we all have our different ways, because dyslexia affects the brain in different kind of ways. They're similar, but so you have to find your own way around. So yeah, one of the things I do is I get my script early, so that I can learn it faster, or get up to speed by the time I learn it.
Do you prefer taking roles where you get a little bit more creative freedom to just kind of do your own thing, a little bit more improv?
It's Hollywood is like your parents. I mean, it's just, can I say this? Can I do this? Is it okay? So in the beginning, that's all it is. It's your parents. Only he's called a director, or he's called Warner Brothers, and so no, you can't do anything. You're like 15 years old. I can say this better. I can say this funnier. Just say it the way it's written. Okay. But then as they get known, and you get like a little fan base, or they know your work from something else, then again, can I say it different? Yeah. And then it starts to loosen up as you go up the scale, like as you grow older and you're 18 now, can I stay out late tonight? Yeah, you can stay out late. So but that's what Hollywood is. It's nothing more than your parents, and whatever relationship you have or had with your parents, that's the kind of settling in that happens with your subconscious and them, and seeing where you're soft and where you're refusing, and that's the way it was. That's the way it is. And with every actor that I talked to, it would be different. In other words, it wasn't like my parents, Hollywood. It was like their parents, Hollywood. But it's, so if you're cool, then you're going to be cool with Hollywood. But I was not cool with my parents. So it was a fight every day, an uphill battle to, I want to do it this way. And one day, this, I don't know, epiphanistic thing happens where they go, yeah, sure, go ahead. What the hell just happened? Yeah, and then you're a grown-up. And then, okay, I'll give you a perfect example if you'd like. With Seinfeld. I had my chops down, don't bump into the furniture, keep burning your lines, don't walk out of your light, don't bump into other actors and stuff like that. So, but Larry David he's not the director. He stands off to the side. Like there's two positions, two Larry David positions, like this or like this. and he just stands there. And there's another director, but he's just a traffic, for the cameras and stuff like that. So what he does is he goes, Tom was the director. Now my character was named Tom, but Tom was the director. Tom, I want to talk to Michael. Okay. And then he would go talk to Michael, and he would call you aside. hey, Michael, come here. And you go, and then Michael would go back and you do the scene, and the scene would be funnier. You know, and it was either Michael's attitude or a line reading, or maybe change the line or something like that. So, and he would go up to do this every time to like each, you know, Costanza or, you know, whoever. He would go up, pull him aside, go in, and the scene would be funnier. The guy is amazing, you know. So, but he wasn't doing that with me. I never got a call over, you know, so I wanted a little Larry David funny dust. I kept on saying, why isn't he talking to me? Why isn't he talking? So one day he says, Tom, I want to talk to Larry. Yes, it's my turn. So he goes, Larry, come here. So I thought, okay, he's going to give me some like magic potion here. What's he going to tell me? And he says, I know what you're trying to do. Just like that. And I got like really pissed off immediately. And the key word that pissed me off was trying.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're trying to do. And I just got angry. I have an attitude problem. So it doesn't matter who you are once I get the problem, you know, so fuck you. Oh, really? And that's what I said. Oh, really? And what am I trying to do? And he said, you're trying to do nothing, which was exactly what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You know, I had in my mind Buster Keaton, you know, stone face, you know, passive aggressive, either be angry or not, nothing, or, you know. So I said, and I go, wow, that's exactly what I was trying to do. I mean, I told him that. I said, yeah, why? He said, well, you're doing something. And he walked away. I thought, that's a direction. That's a great direction. That's probably the best direction I ever had. You're doing something. You're trying to do nothing. You're doing something. And he walked away. And then so I did it again. And then he said, I want to talk to Larry again. No, he didn't say that. I did it. And I saw him walking towards me, but he was walking so fast that I thought, oh, he's going to talk to somebody behind me, which he did pass by. But as he passed by, he said, you're still doing something. I mean, so that's, you know, how much room do you have to be your, you know, to improvise, how much, you know, but when somebody like Larry David is watching you, it doesn't matter what you improvise. He can come up with a topper, you know, or correct it, you know, or so there's all kinds. You have to, like I say, it's like your parents. Sometimes I'll sneak out of the house, and sometimes I won't sneak out of the house, and sometimes I'll come home late, and sometimes I'll come home on time, and sometimes I dented the fender, and sometimes mom dented the fender. And
Wait,
my mom would stand
analogy
up for me. Yeah, my mom would say, yeah, it was me. You know, she'd take the shot, because my dad was crazy. I mean, he just beat the shit out of me. I mean, it's just, yeah, I had one of those dads with the belt.
The old school. Yeah.
Old school. He was old school. Before digital was old, before even that was old school, before digital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was, yeah. Anyway, so that's how much room you have to improvise.
I'm just looking over. Sean's going through your entire filmography. I'm waiting for him to just drop this like
No. Go ahead.
monumental question for you.
No.
It's gonna happen at some point. Sean's gonna drop some big question. So you've been in Hollywood, you know, been in acting for a long time. What was the best advice that you ever got?
The best advice was when trying to do nothing. You know, you're doing something. That, but other than that being right on, but also a really funny joke that he laid on me, but it was true. Let me see, the best advice I ever got as an actor. Oh, well, here's the thing. They don't give you much advice. There is one thing I'll tell you, but basically you have to learn. A rock and roll guy once told me a great thing that is the best advice I ever had as far as performing or, you know, listening to other people. He said, what would he say? I love learning. I don't like to be taught.
Mm.
And I thought, wow, man, that is right on. That's me. You know, if I can learn what you told me, but I won't listen to you. And then when I learned it, I go, oh, this is what the guy was telling me. But I don't care. I'd rather learn it myself. And you know, there's a yin and a yang to that. I mean, there's good stuff and bad stuff about that. You know, you shut yourself off, you're missing a lot of information. And, you know, teaching yourself is a good thing to learn, you know. So I've had a lot of times where I didn't listen to somebody, and then maybe a year later I go, oh, this is what he's trying to tell me. Oh my God, you know, I wasted a year just because I didn't listen. So it does come back to bite you. Attitude, you know, my attitude problem.
There's nothing wrong with an attitude problem, and you know, obviously.
Well, I mean, my attitude sometimes it gets in the way of me learning something really important that I learn a year later and go, oh my God, this is what he was talking about, and I could have saved a whole year of fumbling around. Just, you know, just stop and listen and do it and see if it works. You know, so advice, yeah. So the advice that I tried, that was really great advice, but you have, okay. So I was doing a cop show. It was a really famous actor. He did a comedy cowboy show in black and white. This is when I was a beginning actor. Cowboy show. He played a fancy Dan who captured criminals, but he was kind of funny. I mean, it wasn't a comedy show. It was a Western cop, you know, sheriff. But he was funny. He was funny. But anyway, he told me this. So I'm doing a scene with him, this star of the show. I'm doing a scene with him, and in the middle of the scene, he just turns and walks away, out off the set behind the camera. And he just left me there. And nobody said anything. You know, this is my first day. He's been doing this series. So I guess everybody else understood what was going on. But I'm just standing there alone. Everybody just, you know, took a break while he walked around, and then came back in. He said, all right, let's do it again. Then the camera director says, okay, you know, action. And he does it again, goes through the whole scene. Okay, cut, moving on. I go up to him and I go, what was that all about? I mean, why did you just walk out of the middle of the scene? It was going along fine, you know? So he said, no, it wasn't going along fine for me. Now, this is a sitcom, and budget is really big in making sitcoms. It features large on any kind of acting. And if they get it in the can, they'll use it. So it wasn't going good for me, he says. It wasn't going good for me. And I knew if I finished this scene, they're going to use this and say, moving on. So if I walk out in the middle of the scene, the entire shot is lost. Good. That's what I was going for. They can't use that. So I walked out of the scene, got comfortable, got centered, came back and did it. It felt good. And I did the scene. But if I had continued with the scene I walked out of, they would have used that one. And I didn't want that. So I tried that in others. In the next movie, in the next sitcom I did, or show, television show that I did. I thought, okay, I'll remember that. That's cool. So I'm doing a scene. You know, I'm just a hired actor. I'm doing it with the star of that scene. And it didn't feel comfortable to me. So I just wheeled on my heel, walked out of the scene and behind the camera, and the whole place exploded. What the fuck is that? What are you doing? It's going on fine. Holy shit, man.
Maybe one of the best stories I've ever heard.
Walking over. What, are you crazy? What are you doing? Well, you know, it wasn't going well for me. It wasn't going well for you? What the fuck are you? What? Holy cow, man. So that was the last time I tried it.
Oh, that
was great.
That's hilarious.
That was
wow.
great.
Because, you know, it's funny, we do a lot of movies and TV shows, and to hear the other perspective is a lot of fun for us, because, you know, it's one thing, like we just did a show about.
Talk to me about that.
So we just did a show on the Incredible Hulk, you know, the TV show from the 70s, and we were talking about it, and it's really easy for us to talk about, oh, you know, they use this music producer, they use, you know, this cinematography, this, that. So it's fun for us to hear what happens behind the scenes, and kind of, you know, as an actor, what kind of process you go through. And because a lot of guys give the standard interview questions and standard interview answers. So to hear a story
Well,
like
your
that,
parents, they're talking about, you're asking them about their parents, quote unquote. So you talk about your parents. See, this is the way I talk about my parents, the way I'm talking. I mean, my attitude towards them, but they didn't laugh. So when you get an actor and he's not giving you anything, it's because he respects Hollywood and he wants to get another job and he's being nice. And I don't give a, I really don't. I'm not an actor. I'm a stand-up social anthropologist, period. As you can tell by my spiel with you guys.
But
I'm
see,
just telling you
that
what
makes
I
it even
think.
more fun, though.
Well, yeah, but they're looking for a job. I'm looking to be on your show and
have a good time. It adds a very nice sense of realism because we've talked to some other people and we talked to especially like other podcasters, and it's a very like, well, do you do this? And yes, I do this, and it's almost scripted. And we try not to go into any of our stuff with scripts because you find yourself then sticking to, well, I got to do this talking point and this talking point, and now it just feels like a conversation.
Exactly. So that's my point. My point is Hollywood is your parents, whatever your relationship to your parents is. Are you a good boy or a bad boy? I wasn't a good boy, I mean, I was a good boy until in other words, it wasn't a smooth transition. It was an attitude problem. I either was, passive aggressive, basically.
Yeah.
With my parents. It was either, yeah, sure, I'll do that, or no, man, no way.
So was there any point though in your Hollywood career where you stopped and you were like, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I'm not the right fit, maybe I'm not going to
all the
this
time.
line?
Every job, I'm not doing this anymore. It was just too hard, too many, until, see, there comes a line where all of a sudden the money, it's not the job, it's the money.
Oh yeah.
It's the money. I don't want to fuck this up. I'm getting paid a lot of money. I'll tell you where it did work, where my passive aggressive attitude, I didn't care anymore, and I let it be known that I didn't care anymore. So it was recently, in the last year, because of the COVID thing. I saw, I wasn't getting that many jobs. I didn't care. I don't like auditioning. I'm never as good in the audition as I am, on the screen. There's a certain thing with the actor gene that if there's film in a camera, adrenaline and endorphins are released. And if there's no camera, like an audition, it's just a store-bought camera and there's not even a director there, there's an assistant, I don't get any adrenaline. It's not important to me. I don't care if I get this job. Because if I cared about getting this job, it would have hit me when I got the script. Holy cow, man, this is unreal. The adrenaline has started, days before I show up for the audition. It's, holy cow, I got to get this. But, so, yeah, I guess it depends on the part then, I guess, does the part get adrenaline going? But I'm not an actor. I suddenly realized about 2 years ago that I really was, in fact, a stand-up social anthropologist. I'm not kidding. That's a joke, but it's what I am. I'm a storyteller. When I first started in show business and left the house, left Syracuse University and went to Greenwich Village with my buddy Carl Gottlieb, who wrote Jaws. I mean, we were friends in Syracuse, so we go way back. We went to Greenwich Village and he wanted to be a writer all the time and I didn't want to be anything. I just wanted to hang, so I would just get odd jobs, sweeping up, cleaning duck boards in a bar from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I would have my days and nights free, not much money. I was starving. Carl will have to steal food for me or whatever, give me money. And I started stealing food from the bar, particularly sides of bacon, because I could slip them in the back. It was flat.
You guys heard it here first. Larry Hankin stole bacon.
Stole sides of bacon, not
okay.
not one. I stole this last
Just
night.
One bacon, one piece.
Can you cook this, Carl, for me? No, as the sides and stuff like that. But I only stayed there for 2 weeks because I thought they're going to see this hole in the refrigeration, department. We're going to see. I was like, don't stay. And then there's rules. You find rules all in life as you go along. Like the rule is don't steal a can larger than this. It bulges. So, little like sausage, those little sausage things, little sausage cans, you steal that. Sides of bacon, flat, things flat. You know where I got the ideas from? Harpo Marx, the Raincoat with the spoons. Ding, 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 ding. I would wear a raincoat to work every day, every night. I would show up at 1:30 in the morning with a raincoat. Matter, it's hot out. Yeah, but it's at night, it might rain.
It might rain.
And then
you
I
never
would,
know.
You never know.
You never know.
you never know. And then I would, stand by the door. They would lock me in. I never figured that out. I was only there 2 weeks, but they would lock me in instead of locking the door. Well, I guess when they left and left me inside, so they would have to lock. They didn't say, "Hey, lock it from the inside." They locked it. So when the chef came in at 6 a.m. to let me out, I would stand by the door, and then when the door opened, I would just slide out because they didn't want him to converse with me, to get involved with me, because he would see maybe there's a bulge somewhere. So I would just slip out. So I just stand by the door and go. But I only just stayed there for 2 weeks because of that. So I would watch stand-up because I had nothing to do. The open mic nights. It was free. I didn't have much money. Buy a cup of coffee at like 8, and I would stay there until midnight, just watching open mic. So I was saying, I'm funnier than these guys and this girl. What the hell is going on? So I would get up there, so I would sign up, 3 minutes. What could go wrong in 3 minutes? I was god awful, man. I really was. There's a difference between making you guys laugh or having a conversation where we are laughing together and getting up on a stage, even for 3 minutes, and making people laugh. That was a bridge too far. That was
the holy shit moment.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, this isn't anything like hanging out with the guys in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
Not anything like that. But it was only 3 minutes. And here's the thing about open mic nights. It wasn't me. It was the audience, how forgiving they are, because they don't care if you're funny or not. Even if you say, ladies and gentlemen, he's the next comedian, Larry Hankin. They don't care if you're Larry Hankin or if you're a comedian or if you're funny. They're waiting for their friend to come on next. So they're not going to cause any trouble. They're not going to heckle. They're not going to boo. They're not going to laugh. They're not going to boo. They're not going to do anything. They're going to sit there quietly for 3 minutes. So it's very forgiving because there was no danger. There was no embarrassment. You just go up there and you talk for 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes if you get a laugh or two, and you get off. So it was the best time as far as a learning experience. On me wanting to learn myself and not taking any, hey, what you should do with that joke, and just leave me alone. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And I was, because in 6 minutes I was open. 6 minutes. In 6 months, which is a very short time in show business years, 6 months I was opening for Woody Allen. So I guess I was doing something right. Yeah, that is amazing. Those are my salad days. I was young, I was cocky, I was funny, and I never wrote anything. I don't know how to write jokes. To this day, I cannot write a joke. I don't know how to do it. I mean, I know the
general.
I know the general situation and the building blocks and the familiarity, setup, punchline. Familiarity, setup, punchline. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're not going to think of it. But so that I could get, but I have it, I guess, in my DNA. That's why I say I'm a stand-up social anthropologist. I would get up and just talk my day for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I mean, it's not very hard. Anybody could do it. You guys could do it. You just get up and talk your day. And if they laugh, fine. And if they don't, no. The difference is that somewhere in me, and I have no control over this, I never mentioned it to myself, is I have a photographic memory for laughter, punchlines and laughter. And I have no truck, my mind does. My mind doesn't have any truck for things that I want to be funny that aren't. So in other words, if I get up on stage for 3 minutes and I get 2 laughs, the next night when I get up on stage, I will remember the setup and punchline of the 2 laughs, and I will not remember anything of else what I said the night before. So I start with those 2 laughs. That's what I start the next night. I get 2 laughs. Oh, I got 2 laughs. All right, cool. And then I talk about, and if I get 2 more laughs, then the third night, I got 6 jokes. 2, 2, and the 2 that I get on the third night. And then the fourth night, 6 and maybe 8. And that's how I built hunks, memory. And I went, and that's how I got to open for Woody Allen. I never, ever had written anything. What I was opening with was 20 minutes that I had consciously for 6 months built up at open mic nights, 10 minutes or 5 minutes at a time. If you're funny, they'll let you go longer. So by the time I was opening for Woody, they would give me 10 minutes on an open mic night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, yeah, it was an honor. So I would close the evening.
Mhm.
You go on last because you're good.
The biggest.
And that's when Woody's manager came into the coffee house. It was a coffee house, and he said, "Hey, you got a manager? No. You want one? Yeah. How about me? Okay. Because that's the thing in Greenwich Village in the 60s, who everybody was there. Dylan was there, Peter, Paul, and Mary was there. Everybody who's famous and old now was in the village then. All the rock stars, all the guitar, anybody with a guitar. It was folks, guitar. And then every once in a while, a stand-up comedian, very few women. But everybody wasn't there to be famous. Everybody was there to get a manager. That was the ultimate, to get representation. If you got representation, hey, I got a manager. Oh man, that's so cool. Who is it? Where were you playing? What time did he come in? They wanted to be,
They don't care about what you're doing. They care about who's doing it for you.
Coming in. When does Woody Allen's manager come into the Cock and Bull? What time? When did he come in? Because they would do the rounds. I mean, the managers at that time, the rock managers, the folk singer managers, the comedian managers, they would make the rounds of the Greenwich Village. They were all together. I mean, it was like 4 blocks of coffee houses. So the managers would just, and the agents would just go around, stop in, listen for a while, go out. So that's how I got my manager. I mean, I didn't know who he was. I didn't even know he was Woody Allen's manager. He never told me that until about couple of weeks later, when I was, I had bragging rights in the bars, in the coffee house bars for hey, I got a manager, Oh, what's his name? I don't know. Jack Rollins. Jack Rollins? You got Jack Rollins manager? Yeah. That's great. Why? That's Woody Allen's manager. No kidding. I got Woody Allen's manager? Holy cow, man. That's great. And then he started booking me. Then I would do the coffee house for about a month, and then he'd send me out with Woody, and then we separated, because here's the other thing. Then you find out there's Woody's audience and there's your audience. And sometimes they're not the same. Yeah. So as I was growing, and getting my, but still I wasn't writing. I didn't know how to write. I would just get up, I'd 3 minutes in the beginning. Audience will give you 2 minutes of free time. If you're interested, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Hankin, comedian. They'll sit and not laugh or whatever. They'll listen to you for 2 minutes, and then they start to, and 3 minutes, you're dead, man. Even if you're funny, they don't care anymore. So there's like a 2 minute stuff. I had this all, so I would, and yeah, I started to notice that I was getting less and less laughs in Woody's audience, and he would be killing when he would get on. And then, so what I was developing, and I didn't know this, but it's in other words, repetition is learning. You do something long enough, you're going to get better at it. If you guys are doing this for, another 2 years, you're going to be much better than you are now, just because. So I was getting better, and what I was learning critical thinking. And I didn't have critical thinking. My house was vapid. So I was learning critical thinking, and I was starting to talk about politics and religion and money and parents and things you don't talk about. And so Woody's audience was starting to, or I was starting to leave. So, and Jack noticed that. He said, it's time for you to go out on your own. I said, why? Woody Allen, Woody's going on the TV. He's doing TV stuff. Why don't you get me on TV stuff? Woody has TV material, Larry. What do you mean? What TV material? Woody doesn't talk about marijuana or breasts or dicks and say shit on television.
Oh.
Oh, you're a critical thinker, Larry. So I had to go up on my own. And that was really weird because now I had to take the full brunt of whatever the audience gave me. There was no Woody to, sort of soften the blow and come on and cool everything down, or for them to shut up and wait for Woody to come on. Now it was just you. And so I was being pulled off the stage by police. I mean, Lenny Bruce. It was Lenny Bruce time. So the police would be, and that I just didn't like. So I would tell Jack. I mean, guys would come at me with beer bottles. Get the fuck off the stage, man. Bring on the Kingston Trio. Oh, Woody Allen, Kingston Trio. Same, not me. So it's a beer bottle, man. I said, I'd walked off the stage. Hey, and then the bartender said, "What are you doing? There's nobody on stage. Get back on stage. What'd you walk up stage for?" The guy came in with a beer bottle, man. Did you see that? Yeah, I saw that. Well, he's sitting down now. Go back on there. No, I'm not until you. Yeah, right. No, if you got to throw him out. I'm not about. If you don't get it back on there, you're fired. Okay, then I'm fired. All right, get the fuck out of here. And I walked out. I mean, that was what was going on. So I called Jack and I said, "Hey, man, I can't do this. I'm a middle class Jewish kid. These people don't like me saying things. I don't get that." Because I was also opening for rock bands. So, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
A totally different crowd. Yeah. So I didn't understand. I mean, I understood, but I didn't understand, So Jack said, this is what Jack said, Woody Allen's manager. He said, "Well, why don't you join Second City? They're doing the same thing as Lenny is doing, but they own the theater and their stage is 3.5 feet high. So by the time they crawl up and you got 5 other people on the stage, you can beat up the guy with the beer bottle."
You got backup. You got enforcement.
Come on, Jack. Come on, Jack.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that's what he told me. So that's what I did. I joined Second City. And sure enough, I had 4 or 5 other people on the stage with me. The stage was 2.5 feet above the audience, and they owned the theater. So if anybody didn't like it, they throw them out. But we were doing Lenny stuff, and so it was great. And my stuff. In other words, everybody was doing whatever they wanted. It was improv. And so I didn't have to memorize lines. I could still, say what was in my head, but it was off of other people. But it was in my wheelhouse. It was in my wheelhouse. I could, and I excelled at it. I was good at it. I belonged. And then a couple of us broke off. Hey, let's start our own theater in San Francisco. And so that's what we did. About 5 of us. Alan Meyerson was a director there. He was the one who had the idea. Hey, we don't need this. And we can make more money if we just start our own theater. We're pretty funny. So we got 5 people and we went to San Francisco and we were. And we were compared to Second City, but that's how I got to LA. They would fly up to see the show. Producers, directors, casting people. Because we were closer than Second City. We had a reputation of being like Second City. Well, of course, we were from Second City.
Weird.
We were trained by Second City. So we started getting calls to fly down and back. So it was the best of both worlds. We were making stage money, but doing our own thing up in San Francisco and then making big bucks for a week down there doing sitcoms and come back. And then finally I just went down and stayed, because of the money. And it was really a big mistake. I mean, no big mistake. I mean, the money was great, and I'm here talking to you guys. But the committee closed. I mean, because everybody left, and I was down here, so the committee closed, and I was very sad about that because that was really, I mean, being a stand-up social anthropologist as a stand-up comedian, and being a stand-up social anthropologist as an improv actor. Is really where my mind is at.
Yeah.
It's, that's where I go. I go to it. I'm a mocker. So anything I see that to mock, man, it's like candy to me. And mocking is not big in the general public. You have to find your audience.
Especially
nowadays. So that's a job. Well, you guys know. You guys.
Yeah.
You have to find your audience. We all have to find our own. It's not given to you. I'm big with Mr. Heckles, as Mr. Heckles, but they're not my audience. 18-year-old girls and their moms who saw the original showing of Friends. That's who watch Friends. And
my wife's chuckling. My wife's chuckling right now. She's like, "That's me. I'm that person."
Yeah, yeah, and it's their children, the wives, the original ones, their children who are about 15 or 16 now, or maybe their grandchildren, I don't know, and their husbands, and wish my wife, she loves Friends. Wish my wife a happy birthday. My daughter loves Friends. Wish my daughter a happy birthday. My girlfriend loves Friends. Wish my girlfriend a happy birthday.
Oh, we
My
should have done this
mom
interview
loves
next month.
Friends. Yeah, wish my mom happy birthday. Yeah, that's so they're out. I mean, they're not. If I do my own thing, that I can't go to them. I'll have to bring them in.
All right, so we're getting close to our time. Sean, any questions for
Well,
the
yes.
legend himself?
I've
Wow.
been trying to think of a good one, and I see
There are
because
no good ones.
that's true. You've worked obviously with so many directors in film, a lot of influential directors: Don Siegel, John Hughes, Rob Reiner, John Huston. I mean, is there anyone specifically that you loved working for?
John Huston, the great. I worked with him. I would do anything for that man. Also, Don Siegel, who directed Escape from Alcatraz. These are masters. These are filmmakers. You can't get any better. My years in Hollywood, the way I got through it, because they weren't my parents. Well, they were my parents. Was I was going to film school. That's what I would, when I would audition, I'd say, I'm going to be on the set with John Huston. I'm going to see how a movie is really made. And it's true, man. These guys are beyond, Larry David. I opened for Woody Allen. He's a great director, but I was there. I talked to him, John Huston is so cool. I'll tell you a quick John Hughes. John Hughes, so I didn't care what I did for the man. It was a small part. I got a couple of lines. Oh, no, they didn't even tell me what it was. They just said, my agent said, get down to Warner Brothers. I think it was Warner. I'll use Warner Brothers as just a general. Go down to Warner Brothers. What was it? Annie. Annie, John Huston is directing Annie. It's a big major motion picture. Get down there. They're closing in an hour. Well, what's the part? Well, they'll give it to you when you get there. Just go. So I lead-footed it down there to out in the valley. It's about a 45-minute drive, speeding. And I get down there and they hand me the script and I read it. What do you say? It was, it was the dog catcher. Yeah. That was it. The dog catcher. So it was a small part. So, great. I don't need it to get it early. The dyslexia, that's fine. I can memorize this right here. Okay. So I'm waiting there and I got my lines down. And this casting agent comes in and says, okay, Larry. And she takes me in to where he's directing Annie. It's inside. He's sitting in his director's chair and he's watching Rushes on a big screen. TV Village, it's called. He's watching, and he comes over to me and he turns to me, brings that, and what she does is this casting is big time. I mean, it's John Huston, so it's a big time casting director for Warner Brothers. So she puts her hand, she gets behind me, puts her hands on his shoulder, and she leads me to John Hughes right in front of me. And he goes to her, what are you doing? She says, oh, I was just putting the actor in front of you. Please don't touch my actors, all right? Thank you. Okay, Larry. Hi, Larry. And he knew my name right away. Hi, Larry. How are you? Fine. Okay, so you know the part? Yeah. Okay, you want to do it? Yeah. Okay. And then she goes behind me again. Now my hair again was hippie length down to my shoulders. So she goes behind me and she takes my hair like this, underneath, like a ponytail. She lifts it up like this behind me. Now what are you doing? I'm lifting his hair up, so he's going to be the dog catcher. He's going to need to cut his hair off. So I'm just showing you. I'm a director, and I have an imagination. So I can imagine my actors, what they'll look like without you touching them. I told you not to touch my actors. Please don't touch my actors. And I'm thinking, this guy is great. He's on my side, man. He's for me. This is cool. I will climb the highest mountain for this man. So because she's like totally shocked, and she's a big deal. But she's now chastised is the word that comes to mind. She stands aside, and he says, "Okay, so you understand the part, yeah? Okay, so thank you very much, Larry. Thank you. You can go now." So that was it. That was the whole audition. And she just started. I saw it from the corner of my eye. She started to go like this, to lead me out. She went, "Okay, Larry, this way." So she learned. Okay, so now I go to the set. So right away, the guy's on my side. You have no idea what that does to my heart. Okay, and it's John Huston. So now I'm in the show. I show up for work, and I go to the AD and I say, "Where's my costume? Is it in my dressing room?" And he goes, "No." "Yes, where's the costume department?" And he says, "Right over there." So I go in. "Hey, I'm Larry, and I'm doing the dog catcher. Where's my rack?" He says, "It's right over there." It's going according to plan, just like I know. And so he goes, "Right here." And I'm going through it like that. And this guy comes up and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I guess everybody in Hollywood at first has an attitude of some sort. If you're not, if you're new, attitude. "What are you doing here?" I'm it's okay. I asked the costume lady, "This is my rack. I'm the dog catcher. I'm just going through I have your costume." "Okay, here." And he goes over to a table and he takes it. And what he does is, to my mind, he takes a piece of cardboard, that color cardboard, that
Yep.
a crew cardboard. It's about that thick and square, about 15 inches square. And it looked like cardboard, but it's not. What it is, it's cloth. It's pressed. It's squeezed down. It's pressurized. It's a costume. It's a, the mechanic's costume, from automobile mechanics, the blue coveralls. That's what it is, only it's a crew. It's a cardboard color. Mm-hmm. But it's pressed, it's washed, cleaned, pressed, and starched into this little 15-inch square, about 2-inch thick. Looks like a cardboard. And it's like a platter. And he hands me this platter. And he says, "That's your costume. Put it on." And I go, "I'm not putting this on." And he goes, "Why not?" I said, "It's clean. It's starched. It's pressed." And I pull it up, and I stick my hand in it, in the sleeve. Because my father, when I was a little kid, he used to get his white shirt starched. I know what starched is, and I used to ask me, "Can I put my hand in it?" Yeah, okay. So I said, "I'm not putting this on." "Why?" "I'm a dog catcher. It's 1930, Lower New York. I'm carrying around, mongrels all day long. It's got to be filthy. I'm a dog catcher." And he says, "That's your costume. Put it on, or we're going to Mr. Huston." Mr. Huston is on my side.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Huston. Cool. So he marches out with this platter, like it's a platter. He's holding it like this. And we're walking, he's holding it like this. And we're walking, and I see we're outside now. And it rained the night before, but the sky is blue. But there's puddles all over, but, places for us to walk, but it's, dry. And there he is, and he's sitting, same thing, sitting on his director's chair. He's watching, rushes like this, always like this, watching rushes. And then he hears us coming. He turns around. He says, "Oh, how you doing, Ralph?" "Hi, Larry. What's the problem?" I mean, he just knew. What's the problem? So Ralph says, "This actor will not put on this costume." And John turns to me and says, "Is this true, Larry? You won't put on the costume?" I go, "No, I won't." "Why is that?" "Because look at it. It's starched, it's clean, it's pressed. I'm a dog catcher. I'm carrying around mongrels. I'm not going to put that on. I don't know. It's not dirty." "Ralph, give me that." So Ralph hands him the platter. So John Huston gets up and he walks away from us. And he's got the platter and he walks towards the biggest, muddiest puddle in the grass that he sees. He walks, and I see his shoes because I see he's walking towards a puddle. I see his shoes. He's got on very expensive Italian leather loafers. Beautiful pair of Italian leather loafers. And he walks into the puddle with these shoes in the middle of the puddle. And as he's walking, he's pulling apart and he arm's length and he drops it into the puddle and then he walks all over it. And I'm going, oh my God, you know, it's over his socks are getting wet. And that's what I'm going. He's stepping all over it. And then he, you know, just daintily picks it up with 2 fingers, you know, picks it up, hold it at arm's length so it doesn't drip on him. And he walks back to Ralph and he hands it to Ralph and he says, dry this off and put this on this actor. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Larry. And he goes back to watching.
Just watch it. Just go right back to it. That's awesome.
That's amazing. That's great.
Cool, man. I'd do anything for that guy. Anything.
Well, this was incredible. It was so great to talk to you and hear some of these stories. And
well, that's in my book. It's going to be in my book. All these stories are in
I wanted to ask you because my wife does run a book page on Instagram. So
but no, seriously, I got to talk to her. This is because everybody's telling me you got to get on Instagram. I don't advertise at all, you know. So in the future, I mean, I'm still writing the book, but this is important. That I was wondering, who would I get to? I mean, if she can help me find, if she can tell me who to go to, that's fine too. You know?
Oh yeah, she will definitely be reaching out to you at some point. Is it okay if I give her your contact info?
Yes, no, I'm this is very serious. I mean, the only way to get out there is with advertising and doing, you know, interview shows. So
absolutely,
I only do interview shows. I don't know how to advertise.
So we would love to talk to you about your book at another point. I'll have her reach out to you. Larry Hankin, the legend. This was
thank you so much. This was awesome.
Oh, thank you very much.
We definitely want to talk to you again soon. So we'll be in touch.
Oh yeah, when the book comes out, you know, it's down the road. But yeah.
Do you have like a tentative date for that book when it's going to be hitting shelves?
No, because I got 120 pages. I got 120 pages. I got to get up to 250. I got about a lot of it sketched out. So I don't know, 6 months. But I'd like to get into the Instagram thing because I have a website and I have another book out called The Loopholes Dossier that I never advertised. So she could help me with that. It's a book called The Loopholes Dossier.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have her reach out. We'll definitely also get you back on the show when the book comes out. So that's exciting. That's awesome. Again, a pleasure, an honor to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Really.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Larry. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.